Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Two for Talking podcast. I'm your host, Corey Tusick. I've got comedian Joe Bartnick alongside. He is at the Pittsburgh Improv in 4 days on July 10th, so you better get your tickets now. And also, he'll be up in at the Boston Comedy Studio on August 23rd. And then Josh Yohe with The Athletic, as always, who's been delivering nothing but news all week. It was a pretty busy week for you, I would imagine. I mean, the amount of free agents we signed, the amount of big deals the Penguins made, being a little facetious. But guys, to start, it's been a little quiet. And we'll get into, some trade rumors, things like that, because, everybody's wondering if Brian Rust or Rakell are on the move. But who we actually signed, let's start there. Anthony Mantha is the big one. And Josh, I'll throw it to you first. What do you take away from the Penguins' free agency moves?
Well, I guess we'll start with Mantha. Really talented guy. I believe Washington once upon a time traded half of its franchise for him. He certainly didn't work out very well there. He's the kind of guy that a scout looks at and he drools over him, right? Because he's big and he's skilled and he should be a star, and he's not. He's just a good player. My first reaction when I heard that they were interested in him, and then when they'd finally signed him, was that, I really do think Rusty or Rakell might go, because that's the kind of guy that you can at least say, all right, Sid, we got somebody to play with you. He's not great, but he's a pretty talented guy, because he's not really a bottom six guy. He's a top six guy, but we kind of know who's on their top six right now. Maybe that was the skeptical part of my brain that went in that direction, but he's not normally the kind of guy that a rebuilding team would sign. So that's where I went first. He's got talent. I mean, to get a guy with that kind of skill at that price, that's great, but it certainly made me wonder what else is to come.
Yeah, as dismayed as I was last week at this time on this show, which is on public record, I thought Dubas had a pretty good week this week. Is it Anthony Mantha from 5 years ago when he had all the potential in the world and you just saw, if he could just get a little meaner, he'd be fantastic? No, but he's definitely a serviceable middle six big winger with decent hands. When motivated, very good. Every now and then he has flashes. He's just not a mean guy, which is everyone yearns for. But he played pretty good for the Capitals in stretches. He played great for Detroit in stretches. So we shall see. It's one of these projects that Dubas has been wanting to use and to look into, and I like it. I really like the Justin Brazeau guy. He is a mountain of a man, and he plays with bad intentions. So, hey, maybe a guy on the fourth line that can maybe, stir the pot a little bit, or at least forecheck, at least knock somebody on their can. I like that move. Parker Wotherspoon, I saw him play a lot in Boston, or when he did play, I saw him play. He's a little bit of a mean streak. He's serviceable. He's just as good as the bottom six we had this year. But he's bigger in size and has a little mean streak. And then the kid, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name correct, from Washington, he's a big guy too on the blue line. So all in all, I like the new guys he brought in, and Dewars and Tomasino were the two guys I wanted to bring back. So I'm really happy with Dubas this week. Good job, Kyle. Way to go.
Well, we're seeing some themes, right? Like, number one, the Penguins are getting bigger, and we've been talking about that for weeks now. That's, people I've talked with in the organization. Kyle himself will tell you that. The Penguins I think Dubas, after watching this team play for 2 years, I think he got a little tired of seeing Sid get pushed around and him having to, defend himself at all times. I think he looks at the Penguins and just sees a team that is too injury prone and too small. And so that's one of the reasons that not only in the draft, but also in free agency, you see them getting bigger. And maybe the single most important thing that Kyle Dubas did the last 5 days, he didn't spend money foolishly. He didn't do anything stupid. Like, he didn't, and why would he, right? And he basically told us that at the Combine a few weeks ago. He said, we're not ready to be a championship team yet. I'm not going to spend a ridiculous amount of money on July 1st. It's like Jack Nicklaus always used to say, you can't win a golf tournament on Thursday, but you can lose it on Thursday. That's what July 1st is, I think, for a lot of NHL teams. And Kyle himself 2 years ago made all kinds of mistakes on July 1st, 2023. But to his credit, I think he's learned from that. And I think he knows the Penguins just aren't in a position right now to be one of those teams. They still have, I think, $15 or $16 million of cap space. So they can go out and sign somebody if the right guy pops up. And maybe they will, Joe. But he didn't do anything stupid. A lot of short-term deals with guys who are okay players who make sense. So I can't really find fault with anything that he did. And I like some of the guys that they brought in. I think theoretically on paper, the depth is a little better than it was. And I'm glad they brought Tomasino and Dewar back also, because those are guys who have real potential. Tomasino has the potential to be a legitimate top 6 guy, right? And Dewar is the one guy on the team last year who actually played like a bottom 6 guy and understood the role. And they don't have enough guys like that. So I think it made a lot of sense to bring them both back, especially on the cheap.
Josh and Corey, I don't think it's a stretch to say that if they do keep Rust and Rakell, this is on paper a better team than they were to begin last season.
They certainly are, as long as goaltending can hold serve, which we'll get to that eventually. But I
think their forwards are better for sure. Listen, if theoretically, if they bring everybody back, and we're going to get to that, but if they do, okay, you've got Rust and Rakell still in your top 6. You got Crosby and Malkin. You've got maybe McGroarty's ready for that jump. Koivinen's a really talented guy. And don't forget about Tommy Novak, who, they made that deal at the deadline. We saw him for, I think, about 4 periods. He's got real talent. Okay, so you got him and Mantha now. That's 8 pretty legit forwards. And like we mentioned, you got a Tomasino who, he can play a little bit. Dewar can play a little bit. They have some other guys. I actually wrote the other day, if they bring all these forwards back, there's no need for Nola Chari or Kevin Hayes to be in the lineup on opening night. Like they've actually got other guys who are just better and make the team Penguins a faster, harder team to play against. But they have a pretty decent setup at forward. The problem is the rest of the team right now. The blue line is still a disaster, but at forward, there's something interesting there, I think.
Right. And if Justin Brazeau just gets hit by a puck accidentally twice a game, he'll be better than Nola Chari.
That's right. And he's about 6 inches taller at least. He brings something to the table.
Younger, faster.
Yeah. Right. And who's to say one of these prospects or one of these guys that was in Wilkes-Barre last year isn't ready to make a jump up at some point? We didn't even mention Boko if you just want to play against the Flyers and put him in the lineup. So, no, and that they've got some pieces at forward. There's no doubt about that. And again, the salary situation is actually all of a sudden pretty good. They've got next summer right now, they'd have about $50 million under the cap.
Well, that's my point, fellas, that, beginning of last year, we didn't have Tomasino. We didn't have Dewars. We didn't have Novak. We didn't have Brazeau. We did not use McGroarty. I guess we did for the first 6 games, but he didn't look ready. And we didn't have yeah. Those are, and Mantha. Those are like what I just named 5-6 guys that are all better than the guys we had. No,
it's kind of an interesting mix of players. I think the Penguins up front are bigger, they're deeper. But that's a real thing. Now looking at the blue line, they've added a couple of pieces who I think, they might be deeper on the blue line. Now the bottom 6 might be better, or the third pairing rather. But I look at the top 4 on the blue line, and that's still, to me, a huge problem. What Erik Karlsson are you going to get if he's even back next season? He wasn't good last year. Chris Letang was pretty terrible last year. Those are still your top 2 guys on the right side. As for your top 2 guys on the left side, I don't even know yet. We're going to have to wait until things shake down. It's not a pretty picture there. The blue line is still a colossal mess, Joe. When you're looking at the Penguins on paper, that's still, to me, even more than goaltending, because at least in net, you have a guy in Jari who has been decent before, and you have a guy in Murashov who might represent actually being the future. The blue line is a real problem, although I got to say I'm not in Pittsburgh this week. I had to be out of town for some family reasons, but I have spoken with people who are at rookie camp, and all I keep hearing about is Harrison Brunicke. This guy is unbelievable. Maybe he's on the team this year. I can tell you right now, the Penguins will give him that opportunity. If they think he's ready, they're going to let him play.
Well, I want to thank everyone who's listened to us over the year. And I said last year in September, he was at least their second best defenseman.
Oh, yeah. Not even by a long shot.
No, he's the real deal. I mean, I've talked with people at this camp. They're like, "Holy shit, you got to see this guy play! Like, this kid's incredible." And I know the Penguins front office thinks the world of him. I know, and they don't want to rush him. He's 19. If he's not ready, he's not ready. That's okay. But I think if he is their best defenseman in training camp, I bet you he makes the team. It would not shock me.
And it's crazy that him as a second round pick is getting this much play this quickly. You know what I mean? Because like usually a first round pick to get this close to the NHL that fast. I mean, that's really unheard of. He was 41 overall or something like that.
Well, plus two. Let's just say that there was it was 51 one way and 49 the other for if he's going to stay up or go back to junior. Sullivan was going to lean to he wants to compete now. He doesn't want an 18-year-old making mistakes. No, it's Dan Muse. Dan Muse is hired to stink for 3 years. Dan wants to see who he's going to be in a year and a half. If you're going to make mistakes now he's the coach to make them with.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, Joe. And I realize Dan Muse's primary job is coach 82 games and win those games, but you also hired him to work with players like Harrison Brunicke. So maybe it's better to have him in the NHL all season to work with Dan Muse and to work with his staff, with all due respect to his junior staff, who obviously have done a good job with him. You're right. It's a different time, whereas Mike Sullivan probably would have been interested in, holding this kid's hand and making sure he was ready every game. That's why this guy was hired. Right? Like I said, he was probably their best defenseman in training camp last year, to be honest. Like the first time I saw him play, I was like, oh my God, like what is this? And I know he had a lot of injury problems his draft year. And that a lot of people will tell you like he should have been a first round pick. He was hurt a lot and that kind of hurt his stock, but everybody knew he was a first round talent. And we have certainly seen that come into fruition. So, he's clearly somebody to keep your eye on when training camp starts. I really, from everything I've seen and everything I've been told, like the Penguins really think this kid has star potential.
And I do, you Josh, you do hits around the media in Pittsburgh. I do hits around the media in Pittsburgh. And the sentiment is, there's no buzz. There's no what are we looking into. Actually, with this week of signings, I'm actually looking forward to this season more than I was last season. It's almost like I knew last season was the end, like almost Black Sabbath's last concert. With this now, I'm like, I'm ready for McGordy. I'm ready for Covenant. I'm ready to see Brunicke. It seems there's like a new awakening almost to see what we really got, as opposed to just hanging on.
Yeah, I mean, no, you're absolutely right. You kind of knew when Anthony Beauvillier was signed, like, best case scenario, you flip him for a pick, which is exactly what happened. You knew he wasn't part of the future. Now the future is starting to show up. That's absolutely right, Joe. Next season, listen, the Penguins might stink next year. In fact, I think there's a good chance that they will. And yet there will be things to watch, whether it's still watching Sidney Crosby every night, which shouldn't be taken for granted, whether it's Geno Malkin's farewell tour, which if indeed it is a really big deal, or if it's, watching Koivunen every night and McGordy every night and Brunicke every night, perhaps. And when some of these other kids make their way up from Wilkes-Barre. So, there are things to watch for now. What if Murashov's their best goalie in training camp by a mile? Not saying he will be. What if he is? There's lots of decisions all of a sudden to be made. And I remember back, Joe, like 2003 and 2004, it's like, I want to see this Ryan Whitney. I want to see this Orpik. I want to see Fleury. Like when real talent started to funnel in, not the guys the Penguins have been getting for the last 5 years, like when real guys were showing up. That changes things. That is exciting for a fan base. Now, you don't want to be the Buffalo Sabres and get excited about that kind of thing 15 years in a row, and it never pays off, obviously. That'll be the next step for the Penguins. But, there are things to be excited about for sure.
A fan just chimed in, and I want Josh to address it because we keep talking about Brunicke, and he was asking about Owen Pickering. So I, as a fan as well, I'd like to ask Mr. Yohe where everything stands with Mr. Pickering.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if he's not on the opening night roster. I think that's the plan. He got a cup of coffee in the NHL this past season, and I thought he was fine. Like, he had a couple of bad nights, as any rookie will, but I thought he was pretty darn solid. I thought he made the Penguins' blue line better. Frankly, I was surprised when they sent him back down, and I was even more surprised that they didn't bring him back up at any point in March or April. I really thought they would, Joe. I don't think he's going to be a star. I think he's limited offensively for sure, but if he becomes a good stay-at-home defenseman, a second or third pairing guy, like, I think that's his future. And I'd be shocked if he's not on the team to start the season.
I thought Pickering played exceptionally well last year. And I know this isn't saying much, but he was their best defenseman in his first 5 games when he joined the team.
No, he was.
And he did fall off a little bit. Maybe the adrenaline worn off. He was a little tired. Maybe he just got sick of playing with bad hockey players as well. But him not coming back was just kind of odd, which you didn't know. I don't know what happened, if he got dinged up in Wilkes-Barre or fell out or what really happened. But and everyone's going to get a kick out of not me talking about it, but also for how skinny he is, he was throwing the body around a little bit. He was not shy, and he didn't get run over like, say, P.O. Joseph.
Oh, no, I mean, he's a different caliber player than somebody like him for sure, even though they're both first-round picks. Pickering, it was funny. I remember the Penguins were in Seattle the day he got sent back down, and I asked Kyle Dubas, I said, is this just like a paper move, or is this you actually sending him down? Because I was kind of surprised. And he said, no, it's not a paper mover. We just, we want him to get a little more work in, but we like him. And I believe that. I think they do. I don't think he's ever going to be a top pairing guy. I just don't know that he's that talented. But listen, even though he's, when somebody's a first round pick, you always want them to become a star, a top 6 forward, or a top pairing defenseman. Hey, if he becomes a very good third pairing defenseman, kind of in the shutdown mold, that's okay. That's fine. That doesn't make him a bust by any stretch. And I kind of feel like that's the path he's headed on. He's also a great kid. I can't say enough of the character of some of these young guys. And I know talent is more important than character. And the word character is overused in hockey. But, man, you talk with Rucker McGroarty or Owen Pickering or Ville Koivunen for a couple of seconds. And, Corey, I know you talked with Murashov and you felt the same. Like you just love all these kids like that. They really have a great spirit about them. They've got a bunch of great kids that fans are really going to like, which is important for the Penguins right now. Let's be honest. They want to sell some tickets, too. It's a likable bunch of kids coming. It really is. But now Owen, he can play. I think he's going to be a legitimate NHL defenseman. A star, no, but if he's not on the lineup opening night and he's healthy, I'd be shocked.
You need the piece. You always need the piece. You know what I mean? Like Rob Scuderi never blew anybody away, but you need that guy. Especially, he really helped us win that second cup in the Sid era, bringing in Trevor Daley.
Well, and you have to, not just him, but guys like Ole Mata, Brian Dumoulin, they weren't going to blow you away with their skating but good defensemen. I think all Penguins fans agree, Joe. This team could use a few defensemen who can actually play defense. Like, that's an okay thing.
Hey, cup number 5. We don't need a number 1 defenseman. We just need 6 guys that can play defense.
Damn right.
I'd rather have 6 number 3s than 1 number 1 and 5 number 6s.
No, it's true. Listen, to compare anyone to them right now is silly, but the Florida Panthers don't have any Paul Coffeys or Erik Karlssons on their team. They just have a bunch of defensemen who are big and really good defensively. Like that goes a long way.
Yeah, if you don't have Cale Makar, you're kind of chasing Cale Makar. Like, you want that Cale Makar.
Yeah, there's only one of him.
Yeah. So if you don't have him, just play defense.
I will say this though. I'm in a good mood this week. I'm in a happy mood, but just to rehash, that's why you had a few chances to move up or to grab some number 1s on the blue line.
Yeah. I also wonder, though, speaking of the blue line, I mean, we could have gone up and got somebody, but we don't really have space at the moment because there's a ton of cap space that's plugged in those lineups. And I see people putting in comments asking what the pairs are going to be. But I don't even think the pairs are really something that you can focus on right now, because is Erik Karlsson going to be here? I saw somebody must have deleted the comment, but I've seen it float around. Detroit is a possibility of a place for Erik Karlsson to go. Is there anything you're hearing, Josh, on that front, or any trade front for him?
I've not heard any teams specifically, and I would caution people to be careful. The amount of misinformation on social media these days, about potential trades is at an all-time low, or I should say an all-time high, I guess. It's really bad. I think there's a real chance Karlsson goes. I've been told that there is legitimate interest in him around the league, and I know the Penguins are certainly willing to trade him, and I think he's willing to go to a contender. The Penguins would have to retain some of that money. I don't think the question is, can they trade Erik Karlsson? I think the question is, how much can they get back in return? Because there was a time when I think we thought, geez, if they dump his salary, you'd pretty much trade him for nothing. But I don't think that's the case anymore with the way the salary cap has gone up. If you give somebody Erik Karlsson for $7 million a year and you eat $3 million of the salary the next 2 years, there are teams that I think would be quite intrigued by him at that price. So you might actually be able to get some kind of a return. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's on the Penguins when the season starts. But if you're asking me, I feel like it's 60-40 that he won't be. I think there's a real chance he gets dealt. We know he's not part of the future. And if Dubas can get any kind of a reasonable return for him, I think he'll probably do it.
As someone who follows the Red Wings pretty closely, I have a couple of thoughts on the Karlsson, the Detroit opinion. One is Stevie Y did not really make a big splash. Now, he finally got the goaltender he was looking for, Whitehall's own John Gibson. Love Gibby. That was a shrewd move for them. But he did not make a splash, and people in Detroit are getting very, very, very antsy with the legends. Yes, now, Karlsson could completely help that team. I don't know if they want to start. Well, I guess Mo Seider's not even a young kid anymore. But, they have some guys that can play with Karlsson. So I can see him going there, kind of igniting an offense, kind of giving a little pizzazz to the Red Wings. But I will say this. The only lips tighter than Lou Lamoriello's are Stevie Y's. Oh, yeah. So the rumor did not come from Detroit.
No, and I doubt it came from Pittsburgh either, because Kyle's not exactly known for spreading that kind of stuff. There's a lot of pressure on Stevie Y, and there probably should be. Detroit might make sense, and if my recollection is correct, I seem to recall Karlsson in his 2 years with the Penguins playing very well against the Red Wings on a few occasions. That goes a long way, I'm convinced. The Penguins always pick up guys who played well against them. You just see that. He likes to play against them. And you mentioned Seider, who I think is a really great player, and that'd be a good setup for Erik, because Seider could play 25 minutes a night and be the number one guy and take on the number one forwards, and you could let Karlsson play against the lesser forwards and just kind of do his thing. Maybe it would make sense. I know Yzerman's under a lot of heat right now, I think for the first time, really. That's why you don't hire legends in your cities as GMs. That's just dangerous stuff.
I've said that because then it's hard firing them.
Oh, yeah.
And then every big event is it's weird.
That's right.
Oh, I mean, I wanted 11-year-old me when Mario retired the first time. I was like, oh, well, can he be coach, Dad? Like, you think he'd be coach? I just wanted Mario back, I still do. I mean, we all still want to see Mario in the building. But
and that rumor has not ended, right? It's not dead. No one's officially
Nobody squashed it. Nobody squashed it. So that's the other trades. Okay, so everybody's asking about Rakell and Rust. Are you hearing anything there, Josh? Anything to report? Because we know that the return would have to be pretty significant. I mean, we're talking probably one first-round pick and a decent player, like a younger guy that's going to be here in a year or so.
Are we referring to Rust and Rakell?
Rust and Rakell.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I have heard some things over the weekend. In fact, it was on Friday, I believe. I was told by somebody, actually a couple of people in the organization, told me that if Ehlers did not sign in Carolina, and of course he did sign in Carolina, but I was told that if he did not sign in Carolina, don't be shocked if there's a trade coming between the Penguins and the Hurricanes very soon thereafter. And I do believe Rust or Rakell would have been included in such a deal. I think that was kind of plan B for Carolina. That doesn't mean the trade was agreed upon. I'm not suggesting that, but I think Rust and or Rakell were their targets if they didn't get their guy in free agency. They've got a lot of money to spend. The salary cap was not a problem for them, and they really wanted to make their team better. Now, he did sign in Carolina, so I don't think we'll be seeing that now. But for the teams that struck out in free agency, maybe didn't get the big names or the splash they wanted, Rust and Rakell, they would have to be attractive to teams. Sure, you have to give up something for them now, which you wouldn't have had to do in free agency, but they only have 3 years left on their contracts now. And if those guys were on the open market, it'd probably take 5 or 6 years to lock them up. So I think if you're a team in that spot, that's kind of what you say to yourself. Well, we have to give up an asset or two to Pittsburgh now, but at least we only have to lock in for 2 or 3 years with these guys. I think one of them gets dealt before the season starts. I'd be surprised if they're both Penguins. It's such of a great position of leverage for Kyle Dubas when the whole league is trying to get better, trying to buy right now. He's the only guy who's really sure I'll sell. And because of that, he can really drive a hard bargain and have teams competing against one another for those guys. So it could have happened over the weekend if things fell a certain way in free agency. I think one of those guys goes, and which one's more likely, I really don't know. That might depend on whoever it is the teams are more interested in between the two of them. But I can tell you that interest in Rust in particular is sky high. Everybody around the league wants Brian Rust if they can get him. And he's available, but I mean, Dubas is not just going to give him away. I'm telling you, he is asking for a ton in return for either of those guys. I think especially Rust.
I think that just shows how poorly managed the Carolina Hurricanes are. I think they gave Ehlers way too much money. I think he's completely overrated. It was a soft market. I think in any other year, he would not be a top 5 get. And I would rather have Rakell or Rust. I don't care who I had to give up. A couple draft picks.
Like Ehlers is a really good player, Joe, but don't they already have like 6 of him on the roster?
That's exactly
another
what
guy who's never won a goddamn thing.
Right. Like, I mean, they already have so much. Yeah, he'll fit in. I don't know. Yeah, he's a perfect Hurricane. He'll fit in. Well, okay, but he's not a star. He's a good player. He is. He's a very good two-way player. I'm sure he will fit in. But is he going to be the difference come springtime for them? Probably not. And for the money they gave him, boy, that was wild to me.
Yeah, same exact thought I had. Like this is such a Carolina move. It fits Carolina, so well. Regular season rod,
but they can't get anyone else to sign there. That's their kind of their level of player.
Well, not that Brock Besser is Mike Bossy, but I would have given, and Besser was signed for chump change. I mean, he signed for basically Ehlers money. I would have given Brock Besser $9 million times whatever 7, and said, "Goodbye, Mr. Ehlers, stay home."
Well, yeah, I mean, there's like conflicting feelings about Besser around the league. Some people really love him, some don't. He's one of those guys who always plays great against the Penguins. Every time I see him play, I'm like, man, this guy's a star. How does this guy not score 50 a year?
Well, I just think that he actually is a natural goal scorer. I'm not high on him. I think Ehlers pretty good. They put it this way: they had to go out and get Gabe Vilardi to be their number 1 winger. So if Ehlers couldn't be on the number 1 line in Winnipeg, do you think he's a key piece to a Stanley Cup championship?
No, like I say, he's a very good player. He's a good second line player, is what he is. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But all Carolina has is good second-line players. So it's just, I don't know. I was a little, when I saw that term, like, oh, man, I don't know. I don't know if that's a sensible business move on their part, but I guess that's the hand they're dealt. They have a hard time signing people there for whatever reason may be the case. And it wasn't a great free agency crop. It usually isn't a great free agency crop. And some of the money that you knew you were going to see with the salary cap going up, people were going to spend stupid money. And indeed, a lot of teams did. And that's just the way it goes. And that's why you have to be so careful on July 1st.
I can honestly say, though, other than the Marner mistake, I thought I was kind of surprised that more GMs didn't really spend stupid money. I mean, a lot of guys came back. I mean, besides Florida, the Florida guys taking discounts, even the Besser thing, I think he could have got more somewhere else. I think a lot of GMs kind of play close to the vest because you guys know next year is an extravaganza.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, now we don't know, of course, which of those guys might, sign between now and then. That always happens. But no, you're absolutely right, Joe. I mean, next year's free agency class has a chance to be historical if a certain captain in Edmonton is unsigned on July 1st. Joe, by the way, I didn't get your thoughts on Mitch Marner officially making his way to Vegas. How do you feel about this?
I can't believe it. I'm not a Vegas supporter. I'm not anti-Vegas because I like Barbashev, and I just kind of like Eichel. Not sticking it to Buffalo because I want the Sabres to win at some point, but I didn't like the way Eichel was treated at all up there. And that, why would you get Marner? I don't think Marner. I think Marner, he's a glorified Nikolai Ehlers.
Well, I think he's better than him, but
no. I know. I take that back. Don't know. Everyone comment me on Twitter and Instagram. No, I just think he is soft. Is he gonna get? Is he gonna get a pair of balls because he's gonna be played next to Mark Stone? I don't
Maybe
know.
the lack of taxes will do it. I mean, if he goes down there and turns into Matthew Tkachuk or something, then maybe.
One thing I'll say, that Vegas team is so good. Like, he doesn't need to be the guy. He can put up his points, and that Vegas team is so good defensively. They are so deep and well rounded. Like, he can just go put up his point per game there and whatever. And he doesn't need to put up huge numbers in the playoffs or feel that pressure to carry a team. It would actually be hilarious. How do you think people in Toronto would react if Mitch Marner puts up 32 points in the playoffs and wins the Conn Smythe next season? That would actually be very funny. He's in a good spot there. He is.
Well, from your lips to God's ears.
He's in a good spot, except the fact that, and I know these are new fans and they're not the grizzled, old Patrick Division fans or Canadian fans, but the playoffs are a birthright in Vegas. So they don't care if he scores 150 points in the regular season. If he doesn't do anything in the playoffs, which let's just say he hasn't done in a decade, he's going to have some problems. Now, it's not going to be like the Toronto media, but he has to play better in the play. He's not proving he can because he's still going to be the same size. And and let's face it, okay, maybe not against Florida, but the West is definitely a tougher conference to play. That's big boy. Now you're going up against Nikushkin.
No, I had that same thought. You're right. Okay, it's not Florida, but
everybody else is better.
It is Colorado and Dallas and Edmonton and LA. I mean, that's not going to be fun. That is big boy hockey out there. It absolutely is. He's going to be very wealthy one way or the other, so he's got that going for himself. But that was very interesting to say the least.
Yeah. Well, before we get up, we'll get into the full NHL, free agency picture, and we've got two more items I want to talk about with the Penguins, though, first. But before we do that, we got to talk about Mr. Bill Neofis of Neofis Insurance. What does Bill think of what's going on with the Penguins in free agency?
We didn't talk about it much this week because Bill and I, as we are every 4th of July, were engrossed in the Coney Island hot dog eating contest. Not so much because of the dog eating, but because of the telecast, which is absolutely hilarious. Like, I get a kick out of the telecast every year. It's just very funny to me. George Shea, the president of the Eating Federation or whatever it's called, always makes me laugh with his little raps and stuff and the introduction of the eaters beforehand. So we watched Joey Chestnut reclaim his crown as the greatest hot dog eating champion in the world. Aside from that, you can always talk hockey with Bill when you give him a call. You can talk competitive eating clearly. But also, I mean, his day job is insurance, so you should probably talk that as well. Give Bill a call anytime, 412-364-3388. NeofisInsurance.com, as we tell you about every week. Whatever your insurance need may be, Bill and his incredible team will help you out. They've been in business since 1960, and he's really been pushing this lately, the pet insurance thing. We're all pet owners. It makes a lot of sense. We all spend thousands and thousands of dollars at the vets because we love our pets. So a little bit of pet insurance, I would think, could go a long way. You should talk with Bill about that. He will set you up. So I'll give you the phone number one more time, 412-364-3388. Give Bill a call. Maybe you'll get one of his assistants, whoever you get. That'll be a good chat. I guarantee it.
Thanks, Bill. And definitely get pet insurance. I mean, Bill's on the cutting edge. He's right. He understands.
I got to talk to Bill about what my brother could have done here because my brother's dog, quick side story, destroyed his air conditioner by pissing on it nonstop for years. And he didn't know that he was doing it. So all of a sudden his air conditioner dies. And that's like some kind of weird crossover pet / homeowners insurance. I mean, is that covered? I don't know. I gotta have Bill out for lunch and get some advice here because
your brother might be screwed on that one. I don't know, but I mean, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, it's worth a shot. It's just it's one of those things. My wife, I mean, I love dogs too, but my wife, if it weren't for kids, we'd probably have like 47 dogs in the house.
Sure.
So now I'm like, yeah, maybe let's not get a boy dog just so it doesn't piss on the air conditioner. But anyways, there's a Sid thing that I want to get at. I hate even talking about it, but it's annoying. But there's another move that the Penguins made this week that we didn't talk about, and that would be Mr. Alex Nedeljkovic going out west to San Jose, getting a third round draft pick for Ned. I'll take that all day. What are your guys' thoughts on the Cleveland's own Alex Nedeljkovic leaving the Penguins?
Well, he was not part of the future. I've said that about some other players, whether it be Erik Karlsson or some others. We know that. So if you can get a good asset in return, perfectly fine. And he had a bad year last year, so to get a third round pick for kind of a journeyman, that's a good piece of business. That's fine. My question now is, do the Penguins go out and get another veteran before the season, or are they going to go with their current goaltender situation and have Tristan Jarry be the number one guy and just have Miroshov be the guy in Wilkes-Barre for an entire season, and Blomqvist presumably being the backup in Pittsburgh? He did not look good at all his last few NHL starts, which makes me wonder if there's a veteran on the cheap, if they go out and get one. I kind of think they might. Wouldn't surprise me, but it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it.
Well, that would almost go against Dubas's or the quote unquote, not the quote unquote, whatever, the plan of not caring if you win. But I guess you don't want Joel to stink and lose confidence. But I want to top of the stick. I thought Ned did admirable. Last year was not his best year, but he was a good dude, good teammate, and nothing but the best to Ned. And Dubas getting a third round draft pick. I mean, that's magic.
Yeah, no, Ned's an unbelievable guy. I mean, he really is.
Yeah,
he is one of my favorite players to deal with ever. I mean, from the second he came to Pittsburgh, this guy's just a breath of fresh air. There's the kids like to use the word real. He's just very real. Like there's just an authenticity about him. If you knew him, you'd like him. He's just one of those guys. So yeah, certainly on a personal level, sad to see him go.
Yeah, he's no Casey the Smith. He's always welcome back.
He's actually a nice guy too. You just don't like him. But I know where you're going. I know. But and listen, I guess here we sit on July 6th at 11 p.m. I think Tristan Jarry is going to be the guy on opening night. It's looking that way. I can't believe I'm saying it in January. Like I never would have bet on this happening, but it was just a confluence of events. Blomqvist kind of falling apart, Miroshov probably not being ready, and Jarry, after his second stint in Wilkes-Barre, where he played like shit, by the way, to all of a sudden get called up and he beats Marc-Andre Fleury in his first game back, and all of a sudden he plays great. I think he's probably the guy to start the season. Obviously, that will come with many question marks. The good news is it comes with like very low expectations, so maybe he won't feel as much pressure as what he has felt in the past. That's the way it looks to me right now. Maybe you get a veteran backup, but it's not like there's anybody out there that's worthy of being a number one goalie that they could get at this point. So I think that's probably what we're looking at.
Well, the Ducks have like one too many goaltenders. It may be a team to look at.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, but again, maybe you don't want to be too good this season if you're the Penguins. I hate saying that. I've never been a proponent of tanking. I'm not even accusing Kyle of tanking. I don't know if that'd be appropriate to say that, but let's be honest. There's a chance the Penguins are a Sidney Crosby groin injury away from being really, really bad, potentially.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I look at it this way. I think the Penguins make the playoffs. This is the scenario they make the playoffs is if they have health. Tristan Jarry plays great, and not great, just good, and you have a couple young guys that kind of take that leap altogether at the same time, like we've seen the Penguins have in the past. That is a way that you make the playoffs. outside of that happening, I think we're a lottery pick. And I think I might get crushed for saying this, but with someone like Gavin McKenna coming in the current situation that the Penguins are in, you're almost doing yourself a disservice if you tried to win this year. Like, because if the Penguins went all in on free agency, where would they end up? Like the fifth or sixth seed? You know what I mean? Like if they pushed all their chips to the table right now that they have, they'd be like a 6 seed, maybe lose in the second round. And I want to see them make the playoffs, all that stuff. But you've got a chance, and it's no guarantee, but maybe you end up in the 25% chance, and it's a 1 in 4 shot of getting a generational talent. We've seen it happen here before. I will let you know it was 21 years between Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby, and it is 21 years between Sidney Crosby and next year's draft. So
numerology, I like that.
Yeah.
And by the way, Corey, it's not just McKenna in this draft. And listen, I'm no draft expert, but most people will tell you like there could be 4 or 5 prospects in this next draft that probably would have been the number 1 pick this season. Like this is, by all accounts, a magnificent draft. So even to get a top 5 pick, even if you don't get McKenna, you might be getting like a real legitimate foundational type player, which I think we can all agree the Penguins need. So that has to be in the back of Kyle's mind. He'd never say that publicly, but it has to be. How could it not be?
Well, I think, if Dubas went and spent more money, it would be a complete mistake. I only saw 2 guys that I wanted on or 3 guys. I thought there were only 3 guys that were out there legitimately that I think would have made put the Penguins into a possible playoff position or a greater chance. That was Gravikov, a guy from LA who went to the Rangers, like 7x7. Bennett, if tamper, say, hey, Bennett, we'll give you 6x12, and or you offer sheet Matthew Nyes and you give Sid his real power forward.
Right.
Other than that, I didn't see anybody out there that was like going to change, or maybe maybe Ekblad, that would change the course of Penguins history that was possibly available.
I agree. And I think that's what Kyle thought too. I think he looked at the free agency pool and said, yeah, there's some players here. There's some guys that can make us better, but is it really worth it when, even if we sign 3 of these guys, we're no cup team. And then all of a sudden, instead of having $50 million to spend next summer, we only have, $30 million. Or, you can do the math over the years. I don't think it's wise to start spending a ton of money in free agency until you're ready to win, and until you know which of your prospects is legit. Like if Harrison Brunicke becomes a really big-time player next year, you probably know you never have to spend that much money on the right side of your blue line because you got that guy, kind of like Sider in Detroit. You got that guy on the right side. So, yeah, it's tough to project which prospects are going to be impactful and which ones aren't. And I think that makes it even harder to spend money, too. So, like I said at the start of the show, I think the best thing he did was not spend a fortune on July 1st. I understand that frustrates people who want to win. Probably frustrated Sidney Crosby. Players are wired to let's see how many good players we can get right now and win. But I can understand why in this class he didn't, and I think it would have been a mistake.
For me not to be frustrated, that's pretty. No one wants to win more than me right now. But even I was like, hey, we got to win. It wasn't the time. Speaking of frustrating Sidney Crosby, Josh, kind of news came out. I don't know from where. That was kind of backpedaling on the Mr. Dubas saying this is Geno's last year. Now he seems to say, we'll have a conversation around the Super Bowl and we'll see what he wants to do. What are your thoughts on that exactly?
I think Kyle had to say that publicly. Like, what else is he going to say? I don't. And listen, if Geno comes out flying this year and looks like the Geno of old, I don't know. Maybe things can change. But everything I've been told is it is his last season with the Penguins, and that's just the way it's going to be. And I don't know if he knows that or not, or if he's been told that or not, but I think that's the plan. And I think Kyle publicly isn't going to say, I don't want the guy around after next year. That's not exactly a good PR move, and certainly not going to help his relationship with Geno if he comes out and says that. So I think he answered it in a very politically correct kind of way.
But that's what I thought was interesting about it, was that why he kind of hinted at the first, what we kind of talked about a month before, like,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I suspect maybe I did no favors by writing that article. I don't know. But that's what I was told, and I trust who told me that. So yeah, I think that's
and everyone trusts you. That's why it's like, hey, I mean, as from as a Geno fan club official founding member, it was good. It was good to hear.
Yeah. Oh no, I get it for sure, and my ex-wife doesn't trust me. She'd say, "You're full of shit, Joe Bartnick." But anyway, no, I mean, I get it, and this is
that would be a fun podcast. The Two for Talking Ex-Wives Club.
Oh Jesus! Oh boy, well, there's an idea. We'd really pull the sponsors in. That
we had Bill. We need a bunch of insurance, Bill.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
You turn that into like I was gonna say like celebrity death match or something. Just get wild.
Oh God, I'm getting sick just thinking about it. Anyway,
I'll try my best to mediate it.
Yeah, please. That's funny. No, but it's I don't know. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be an emotional thing for Penguins fans this season, if indeed it is Geno's last, because as I've often said, he has a visceral connection with the fan base that very few players have ever had. Even Sid, I don't think, has that weird connection that Geno has with the fans in that building. Everyone's going to feel like their childhood's gone when Geno plays for the Penguins for the last time. And it's such of a shame that they're in the spot they're in right now. You'd love to see him in the playoffs one last time. Corey, you were talking about a scenario where the Penguins get into the playoffs. So one of those scenarios where they get into the playoffs is Geno turns back the clock about 5 years. And I don't know if he's capable of doing it, but I'm sure he will try. And that would be required for them to make the playoffs. And I wouldn't really bet on it happening at his age and with his health issues. Man, I'd love to write about it, though. I'd love to talk about it on the show every week.
And we'll have 4 months or at least 10 weeks or something to worry about. But I think the key to that is having Novak play center.
Oh yeah,
letting Geno play wing, then throw either Mantha or I guess Kovinen will probably play with Sid in that case if McGroarty's with or maybe I don't know, McGroarty, Geno, wings for Novak. You can do a lot worse than that.
And wasn't Geno a big fan of Novak? Didn't you?
No, Geno. I've been told Geno wants to play with Novak. He really likes him. He thinks he's good, even though it was only a game and a half. Geno was sitting there on the bench watching him. And he liked what he saw, clearly. He literally told the Penguins, told the front office after the season, like, let me play with that guy next year. And I don't think Geno really cares if he plays center or wing at this point. Don't really think it matters. And if those two click, if they could give the Penguins a reasonable second line, like even if Rust or Rakell gets traded, say one of them's back at least, one of those guys with McGroarty and Koivunen and Mantha, like you could still have yourself a pretty legitimate top 6. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I have 2 points to make on that. One is just the fact Geno knows his name is huge.
Well, we don't know that he knows his name. He might have just known his number or something.
That guy. The second thing is Geno's out of position anyway. It doesn't matter where he plays.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, as long as Tommy can hold down the fort in the defensive zone a little bit, I'm sure Geno would appreciate that. I don't think Geno at 39 is going to start becoming a Selke guy. So I'd be surprised. Although he actually was better defensively last year than he's been in a while.
Geno was always like a Selke guy that didn't actually play defense positionally. You know what I mean? Like he had the pickpockets, he had the stuff like that. He had all those traits where if he was just a structured center, he would be, But that
I would say when Geno was at his best, he had that Mario gene where he would steal 3 or 4 passes a game. Like that was where he was good defensively, just the anticipation and the long reach. Which when he wanted to be, he could actually really help you in that regard. But that's when you knew he was locked in, when he was just ahead of the play like that.
He's going to give us 40 Geno games this year.
He might.
Because last year, what he probably gave us about 40 last year.
He may have. Yeah, no, there were some nights when I was like, man, it looks like Geno. He's got it. Other nights, not so much.
Yeah, it's fun to see. And And so did you guys see this? I saw a couple comments come in. So obviously, the internet's telling the truth. But I guess Kipper on the Nick Kipper on his show said that after Olympics, Sid might, leave the Pens next offseason if the Pens don't get better. First of all, that's assuming a ton of stuff, assuming that they're not going to get better. And second of all, why do we have to go through this over and over and over again? But the real reason I bring this up is because I'm sorry, Nick Kiprios and whoever brings this up for clicks and whatever. But I know, Josh, I texted you whenever the video came out and I said, I don't know. To me, that looks like a guy that's in on the plan. When Sid, if anybody saw the video the Penguins put on social media, Sid was in Cranberry, met all the draft picks, the 37 draft picks that the Penguins had. He met them all, and he's sitting there smiling, like really engaged. Does not look like a guy who's not read in on the plan, if you know what I mean. Like, he looks like a guy who understands, has bought in, and is like, I'm excited to see this moving forward.
Yeah, I know he's not thrilled with the situation right now. He wants the Penguins to be better. But any idea that Sidney Crosby wants to play somewhere else, like even Nathan McKinnon had to come out on Twitter last week and call it fake news. Like even he was getting annoyed by it. I'm going to talk with Sid at some point this summer, and I know the subject's going to come up, and I know he's going to get irritated when it does. Nothing drives him more nuts than this. And 99% of this bullshit comes from Canada. I don't know why. And nothing. My kids are Canadian. I have nothing but love for the people of Canada. I don't know why it always comes from north of the border, but there's just this obsession with seeing him play for another team. And I don't really understand what it is. Is there not enough star power in the league right now? I don't know what it is, why we have to continually focus on him. And people keep saying, oh, he deserves to be in the playoffs. He deserves to be in them. You know what he deserves? He deserves to play for the team that he wants to play for. That's what he deserves. And if he wants to be a Pittsburgh Penguin, I think that should be good enough for everybody else. Okay. And if he doesn't, then Pittsburgh owes him nothing, or he owes Pittsburgh nothing rather. I mean, if he wants to leave, I don't think there's many Penguins fans who would hold it against him. But if he wants to stay, isn't that enough? What else does he have to say or do? Why is it so bad that a great all-time player just wants to finish out his career with the team it all started with? I don't understand. It's like NBA culture or Ray Bork. I don't know what it is, but Sid's not any of those guys. He's Sid.
He already has 3 cups.
That's right.
To me, it seems like the people in Canada are just disgusted with the fact that the Penguins got 66 and they got 87, and Toronto didn't get him, and no other team did either. So that's why it's like they can't believe that they lost out on 2. They did 2. They had their Gretzky, but that's it.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny because Joe, I was going to tee it up for you. All of the comments come from north of the border, but they really come from Toronto
and Montreal.
Not Toronto fans.
Yeah.
But, it's just maybe it's because all the media is, in the hub there in Toronto. All the national media.
Corey, you know what they should be doing? Every day the question should be like, hey, McJesus, why don't you find a team that can win?
I know.
Sid already has his 3 cups. Why are they worried about Sid? And Sid's going to be retiring very soon. And all of a sudden, their greatest athlete, McJesus, is going to be looking around with nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny, Josh, what you said about how they hate that Sid or Joe, whichever one of you said it, it's 11 o'clock. That we got Sid and we got Lemieux. I've seen a ton of comments of Canadian fans saying, you just know the Penguins are going to end up with Gavin McKenna. It's ever if you go on Twitter and somebody's talking about next year's draft or how the Penguins aren't good, you go through the comments, there is going to be a Canadian that talks about how the Penguins are going to get McKenna.
Of course there is. Well, if you know your history, they probably are. Who knows? But no, there's certainly a jealousy factor when you look at all this Crosby stuff. And I think we saw it become even more exaggerated during the Four Nations when we saw the hero's welcome that he received in Montreal. on the first night of the tournament, the game he played, and then the reception afterwards. And obviously, Sid has an affection for Montreal, and Montreal has an affection for him. So now all the Canadiens fans want him. I get it. I find it to some point it's almost disrespectful to him that he continually says, "I don't want to play anywhere else," and all these people say, "Well, he deserves to play in the playoffs." No, he doesn't. No, I don't know what that means. He's been in the playoffs like 16 times or something. Like, what he deserves is to do what he wants and to finish his career on his own terms.
Yeah.
And to me, and maybe this is the Pittsburgher in me, I don't know, but what's a better story? Like Sid going to Colorado and winning a cup on an all-star team, or Sid hanging around until his Penguins get good again and making like one last run at age 40 or something in the playoffs? Like, to me, that's a better story and a more admirable story in a way. And I don't know why people don't see it that way.
And the jealousy really comes from Toronto, because when you think about an original 16, the mecca of, the biggest city in Canada, all the media there. Now, it's not Montreal, but really the home of hockey. Hockey's, the Emerald Prize. And think about it, Mitch Marner has like the fifth highest point total this season was this year. Like that, he'd come in that's like 90th in the Penguins.
Yeah,
that's right.
Like 103 points in the Penguins in the 80s and 90s is that's like nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
They've been so devoid. They have Austin Matthews down that probably kills him because he can't win and he's American. Like, they've never had a superstar in Toronto. Matthews is their best superstar forever.
Yeah.
Think about that.
He's American.
No, it's true.
It's so frustrating, and I know I said it on this show, I said it on Twitter, I said to anyone that would listen that talked about it, I said it's getting to the point that it's like borderline like harassment from people like Biz and all those other people, where it's just like guys, just let it go. Like, is this guy your friend? You know what I mean? Like, is it like George the Rock? Okay, you're trying to get some attention, because nobody's talked about George the Rock in 20 years. So,
he was great at the Shane Doan roast, an incredible roaster, George the Rock. Yeah. I great guy. I did a roast with him of Shane Doan. So I'm not gonna. First of all, I'm not gonna ever speak bad of the Rock. The second Rock, because the original Rock, everyone knows, is old beach bum Don Morocco, who took too many GNC products and became the Rock.
No, I'll say something bad about George the Rock. His reporting is not good, because for him, he's the one that got the response from Nathan McKinnon that said fake news. Like,
yeah, well, I don't have to depend. He's George the Rock. He's like teaching yoga classes.
Kyle Dubas
he's not exactly Elliot Friedman. We
asked Kyle Dubas about it after the first night of the draft, and I believe him when he said he didn't even know about it. He's like, I'm like busy drafting people. I don't even what's going on. Somebody said, George LaRocque said this on Twitter, and Kyle said, well, I don't really care what some random former NHL player's opinion is about Sidney Crosby. Like, Sid certainly hasn't told us he wants to play anywhere else. So everybody, I think, in the organization and the captain himself are so annoyed by this. And it's his buddies, too. It's Paul Bissonnette and Ryan Whitney, guys who played with him. They're in LaRocque, for that matter. These are all former teammates of his. And they should know better, and they can't help themselves. They've got to stir the pot. They got to get their attention. Kevin Weeks just nonstop brings it up. It's like every week the guy has to bring it up. It's attention seeking. That's all it is. People have this fantasy of him playing elsewhere. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's just video game culture. We all want to let's make trades on video games and see what a team would look like with this guy and that guy. Well, in reality, it's the NHL. It's not a video game, and Sid doesn't want to go anywhere. And I know that drives some people nuts, but he just doesn't.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only guy who thinks this, but there's just something completely tainted about Ray Bork's cup anyway.
Oh, yeah. No, I never felt like that was a legitimate cup. First of all, I hate the fact for Joe Sakic. I hate the fact that he just handed the cup to him. It's like, you're the captain. You should have had that. That was your moment that you gave away to a guy who just leached onto your franchise to win a cup.
It goes to my McJesus not even argument because I like McJesus, but it's like, McJesus, you got to beat somebody. Oh, Ray Bork, he couldn't beat Gretzky. Lemieux wore him like a cheap suit.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like Ray Bork suffered on an expansion team for 15 years.
I never realized
he just couldn't beat the best of the best, which is why he didn't win the cup.
I never realized Ray Bork was any good until I was like 25 when I looked at his stats. Like, whoa, that guy was a hell of a player. Because every time, back in the old days, we didn't get to see, in the 80s and 90s, we didn't see guys play that often. You just got the Pittsburgh games. Every time I saw him play, he was just getting destroyed. So I never thought that much of him, quite honestly. But no, okay, Ray Bork won a cup. Didn't they throw a parade for him in Boston? Is that right?
Yeah.
I think, which is like the strangest thing ever. Like, I'm sorry, it's so weird.
He lost to the Gretzky-less Oilers. He lost to the was it 90 that they lost to the Oilers?
In 5.
Mark Messier is the captain, so it's like
that was
even
the chance.
Gretzky gone, he still couldn't do it.
No,
I don't
know. There's no honor in winning a championship that way. I'm sorry, there's just not. And in Sid's case, he's won 3. I mean, what sure, everyone would love to see him win another one. So many people love Sidney Crosby. I get it. Maybe he will. I don't know. Maybe he will in Pittsburgh in 4 years. We don't know what the future holds. We don't know how long he's going to keep playing. But for a number of reasons, he just doesn't want to leave. For one thing, he's a creature of habit. I don't know that he'd be comfortable after being in one spot for 20 years, just going and playing somewhere else. But for another, he is among the most loyal human beings I've ever met in my life. Like he really legitimately considers himself to be a Pittsburgher and a Penguin. He just does. And he's very proud of that. And I think maybe people around the country or in Canada don't care about that, but people in Pittsburgh should feel awfully good about that fact.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to make the statement. Everybody, I'm kidding. I mean, I pray to God and put my fingers crossed, but it's never going to happen. But just think, I'm going to just blow Corey's mind and he'll be so happy with this. Think about this, Corey. The salary cap's going up. We have $50 million. Next year, we sign Jesus and we draft and we win the lottery.
Oh, my God.
Right? How pissed off with Kennedy then?
Gavin McKenna, Sidney Crosby, and
Jesus. Yeah.
We'll bring Malkin back for that.
Realizing his third line potential.
He might do it if that was the lineup. Yeah. Although McKenna's a left wing, so you just put him on Jesus' left wing or on Sid's left wing. Everything's fine.
All right, everybody, don't send the hate mail. I'm just kidding.
Just messing around. Everyone in Alberta is going to want Joe's blood.
Oh no! Here, I'll show you the person that's not going to be really thrilled about that. This comment. This guy's been, guy or girl, whoever's been putting these comments up left and right. The better story is Crosby going to Edmonton, winning the cup with McDavid or the Leafs. Like, come on, like let's grow up a little bit.
No, Jesus Christ! Come on. I don't know. I don't get it. I'm sorry. Let's take the 20 best players in the league and put them on a super team and win a cup. What a great story. No, it's a shitty story. It's not a good story. Like, how's that a good story? Like, I don't, that's like robbing a bank. Like, it's not a good story. What am I missing here?
It's so bad.
Well, it's not a good story for a couple of reasons. One is Edmonton is not this down-shaken franchise. They're not the Cleveland Indians or the Cleveland Browns. Like, they had Gretzky, they had Messier. They have 5 cups. Woe is me, and they got the best player on earth.
And then Draisaitl's not bad either.
Yeah, exactly. And then Toronto, it's like yeah, they just suck, but it's not like it's like if the Yankees just never won. Like, they have the most money, they got the biggest city. It's not like he's like coming in and saving a downtrodden franchise. They're just mismanaged. Brett, remember, here's like, oh, they hate Dubas. Okay, listen to this, Toronto. Oh, you hate Dubas. You couldn't wait to get rid of him. Well, look at Brad Treliving. When he was in Calgary, he let Sam Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk go. Just think about that. That's your GM.
Yeah, a good track record.
That's right.
Before we, that's just, I hate to even talk about it, but I want to shift the narrative to like telling people that this is harassment. Leave the guy alone. Like, it's not happening. Before we wrap up though, I wanted to throw this up with what I saw on, what we saw in free agency. It's at Jimmy Hockey on Instagram put this together. But anything that stick out at you guys? I mean, we talked about Mitch Marner a little bit, and boy, has the Toronto hate been they've been vicious. They've been out for blood with Marner on Twitter. But Marchand getting 6 times 5.3, like, okay, it's good for him. The fact that Florida kind of held serve, because I even saw a credible report that Aaron Ekblad went to his favorite coffee shop and at one point recently and told everybody thanks for everything all these years. So that sounded like it came at the last moment. Anything, but these are top NHL free agent signings. Anything stick out to you in particular?
Well, if you look at this list, then obviously everyone in Florida took a discount. I think Bennett could have got 12 I think Bennett could have got 12 if he went to Toronto. Obviously, Aaron Ekblad is ridiculously underpaid. Yeah. Oh, it's criminal. You guys know how much I love Matthew Knies. I think he's worth at least $9 million. I don't know why he wanted to stay in Toronto. The Rat, okay, 6 years. But here's the thing: it's $5 million. He can just come at Easter. The last 3 years of the contract. Who cares if he even plays the regular season?
Right. Well, my first thought, Billy Zito did it again, and yeah, he might have the advantage of guys making more money in Florida, so taking less with the tax situation, and yeah, guys just want to keep playing there because of how good they've been. But still, to get all three of them to come back, I don't think many people thought he could do that a couple of weeks ago. I think the thinking was, yeah, he's going to sign Sam Bennett. He has to, and he'll get one of the other two, but the other one's probably going to walk. To bring all three back, that is a stunning piece of business. And I also have to say, we were just making fun of the Leafs, which is always a good sport, but they got Tavares really cheap. Mm-hmm. He's still a good player, I mean, to get him at that rate, that's really good. And yeah, for all that Marner has failed them in the playoffs, they still need somebody to replace those 100 points that he puts up every year. And they didn't do it. I don't, they're not better on paper now than they were a couple of weeks ago. That's for sure. And I don't know what their plan is moving forward, but I see some holes in that lineup all of a sudden. And yeah, I love Knies too. And that's good that you got him locked up, but I don't know. I don't know that they've missed their window or whatever that means. I still think they're a good team, but I don't think they're a great one.
I think all of these defensemen are overpaid. Yeah. I know why Bouchard got paid $10 million, 10.5 for 4 years, but a few skeptics think that anyone could shoot from the ladies' tees when everyone's looking at Jesus and Leon skating around. But I'll say, after watching Letang play for 20 years, actually hitting the net is a skill. And getting it through is a skill. And it may be worth $10 million after watching people who can't do it. Maybe. Noah Dobson, I don't know how Lou or I guess it's Darts over there now, gave up on him because they already let Taves go for 2 seconds. I like Noah Dobson. He was down a little bit. I don't think 9.5. I think 9.5 is a lot of money, but the cap's going up okay. But who the hell gave Ivan Provorov $8.5 million? It's like, I mean, they got rid of their idiot GM, but how about that? How about that? Wait, Kekalainen. Kekalainen got hired in Buffalo. The only way you can get worse mismanaged as an NHL team than Buffalo is then to hire Kekalainen. Kekalainen, he's only not the worst GM in NHL history because a guy named Ron Hextall existed.
No, you're right. I will say this for Bouchard. He might not be worth $10 million anywhere else, but he might be worth that much in Edmonton because he clicks with those guys, especially on the power play. He does. So could you put any defenseman in that role, and would he put up big numbers on the power play? Maybe. I don't know. But he does. There's just a natural chemistry there. So I can see why they gave him that money, even though he's not Kel McCarr, he's not Quinn Hughes, but he is incredibly important for the Oilers. So I get it. I'm not going to give them a hard time for that. But the Provorov deal was unbelievable to me. I'm sorry. I just don't get that at all. That makes no sense to me. And again, Dobson's really good. Would I have given him that kind of money or paid the price Montreal paid for him? No, I don't think he's that good. I think he's really good. I like him. But listen, when July 1st comes, teams start doing crazy things. We see it every single year. And as I have stated on a couple of occasions, there's not a lot going on for the Penguins right now, but be thankful that they still have all that cap space coming up and a lot of bad contracts coming off the books in the next year or two. That is going to make a difference.
Well, I wanted to say I'm pro Evan Bouchard. I'm just giving the devil's advocate of some people saying that he shoots from a lady's teeth. But I think the best thing about Bouchard is he has his off days in the regular season, but he's a big time playoff performer. And that's what you want, especially when you're playing with Leon and Jesus.
Oh, absolutely. No, he's really good. I mean, listen, if he played, for the Nashville Predators, would he be a $10 million player? I don't know. I'm not sold on that, but whatever they do in Edmonton, like what he does, what he brings to the table, and the main thing is his ability to shoot the puck and his willingness to do so, which we've seen over the years in Pittsburgh. Men on the point playing with stars don't always like to just shoot the puck. Bouchard doesn't care. He knows his role and he does it really well. So good for him.
And he's sneaky physical. And I'll tell you I just lost my train of thought on Bouchard. Oh, last year at this time, people were thinking, he's going to be up for the Norris next year. Like he was incredible in last year's playoffs. Like he's a little down regular season. But what's funny is that I don't know. I guess I can look up in my notes from, but Fabro signed for like chump change compared to Provorov in Columbus. It's patently ridiculous. Let me see what Fabro. 4 years times 4.125. I'd rather have Fabro than Provorov straight up.
I know. No, I think I might. I know.
How's he making? How did he even look him in the eye in the locker room?
I don't know. I really don't understand that one at all. There's always a couple each year. It's like you think it's a typo. Like, wait a second, what? Really? And we've seen it over the years with different GMs, and like in Pittsburgh, I think it was when Kapanen. Remember the contract Kapanen got a few years ago, and the family was getting like 2 years, $6 million. I think it was. I actually texted somebody in the organization like, "Is this right? Like, this can't be right." Like, yeah. I'm like, what the? Like, really? Like, wow. Okay. It happens.
And the friendly ghost is back in Edmonton.
Yeah. How about that?
He had a good playoffs.
He did. No doubt.
I mean, to me, though, he was so himself, where it was like, you'd see a couple games, you're like, oh, hey, there he is. Wow, he's putting it together. And then kind of disappear for a little bit, Now, I wanted to ask you guys, Connor McDavid, I mean, there's not the rumor mill is going wild right now. Like if you type in Connor, I did it just to I wanted to do so I could see what would come up if it was interesting. If you Google Connor McDavid's name on right now, you see it says Rangers predicted to land Connor McDavid in blockbuster move. Like Yahoo Sports, like Bruins linked to Connor McDavid, Maple Leafs linked to Connor McDavid, like everybody's linked to Connor McDavid. He could have really done away with this. I know there was a report that they met before the draft. The management and him met. I don't know. I think there's a real chance that he moves. If he moves, not saying he's going to.
Now you sound like Biz.
I know, but I'm not giving them some of their own medicine. But if Connor McDavid moves, where do you think he goes?
I don't think he's going anywhere, Corey, to be honest with you. I think he is. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to sign a new deal. And at some point, he might get tired of Edmonton. Maybe 3 years from now, he's like, all right, screw this. Yeah. And at that point, he's going to say, trade me. And they're going to trade him. Because guys like him, when you're the best player in the world, like they're not going to hold you hostage. That's what I think is going to happen. Now, would it be good for the league if he played in New York or if he played for the Blackhawks? You're damn right it would. Sure it would, of course. Him playing at Edmonton is not a great thing for the National Hockey League. Any great player playing in the Western time zone is not a great thing for any league, let alone in a small market in Canada. No, it's not helpful. So sure, it'd be fun if he was on those teams, I suppose. But I just don't see it. And I'm sorry, but your boy Leon signs, and then all of a sudden you bail a couple years later without ever winning a cup. It's not a good look, and that's the situation he's in.
He's going to sign a 3 or 4 year deal.
Probably. Yeah, I bet it's not another 8-year deal or something like that. I bet it is a shorter deal.
Yeah, and then
that's okay.
Yeah, and they'll have their 3 or 4 years to make it happen. And at that point, then I don't think anyone has a problem with him leaving. He's given 12, 13 years of his life to the franchise.
Yes, that's right.
If they can't get it together by then, and then just one little quick note before we wrap up, but why do you think it is that NHL players don't, like, you look at the highest paid player, Leon, it's like 14 million. You know, you look at all the other leagues, and I'm bringing this up because a Pittsburgh player named TJ Watt always wants to be the highest paid. And look, TJ, I love you. I love what you do on the gridiron. But why? You know what I mean? It's like the moment you saw Myles Garrett sign his contract, you knew, TJ's going to want to have one more dollar than him. And I tweeted this out that, man, this makes you really appreciate Sidney Crosby, because he walks into the room and says, pay me $8.7 million a year. Nobody walks out of this room alive. So I don't know why. What is it about hockey players that are a little different? Because they don't seem to really push for, you know, nobody's trying to break each other's records. It's always kind of shocking who's making the most.
Well, I guess part of that's just the culture of the sport. I don't know why. And there's just not as much money in hockey as there is football. Like, look at the money we're talking about in football. Yeah. Like, you know, Sid's always making 8.7. What's McDavid make? Around 12, I think, something like 12. That. Like, we're talking $40 million a year for a non-quarterback. That's insane. That just shows you how much money is in the NFL in particular. I don't know. Listen, I love TJ Watt. I think he's, from everything I've heard, he's a good guy, but I think his obsession with this whole comparison with Myles Garrett and wanting to be paid as much as him, like, it's gotten to be a bit of a problem, in my opinion. Like, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame, TJ, but you never won a playoff game, man. Like, come on. Even Myles Garrett won a playoff game once. It was against you. Like, I mean, what? Okay, maybe you make $34 million a year. That's okay. I think Mrs. Watt and the family are going to be doing okay. It's greed at some point. Sorry, it is.
I am completely over TJ Watt. You've never won a goddamn thing. And on the biggest play of the year, you were taking a knee, having a water break on third down.
He does that a lot, doesn't he? I know.
Goodbye.
I like what he does on the football field, but yeah,
he's a great player.
I wish he was obsessed with winning Super Bowls the way he is with being compared to Myles Garrett. Yeah.
Hey, I don't care if you get run over, but be on the field.
Right. No, I agree. And it's
a bad look. It's a bad look.
As great as Garrett is, that was an absolutely ridiculous amount of money the Browns gave him. Like, I don't think emulating what the Browns do is good business sense for any NFL team. Let's be honest here.
No, I don't think. I think the Steelers would be wise to franchise him.
Yep.
And I mean, how many times can they franchise him? Is it twice?
I think so. By then he's 33, and
exactly.
If he wants to walk, then fine. But it's,
he might his performance might go down over the next 2 years. Let's just, it kind of already was a little bit, and it's like, don't come at me, people, like I'm a TJ hater. Like, my kids have TJ Watt posters and jerseys. Like, so, if anybody wants
never won a playoff game,
to do good. But
you're not a real. I don't count you as a real Steeler if you've never won a Super Bowl. This MFer never won a playoff game. You might as well play for the Pirates.
Yeah.
I'm serious. You never won. You never won a playoff game on the Steelers. That's not. I never won a playoff game on the Lions. I never won a playoff game on the Bengals. This is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you think and you're a Hall of Famer, and you've never won. Think about that. And he's never won, and he's asking for all this money. Goodbye. Enjoy the LA Chargers. Get out of here.
There's a new subculture of Steelers fans who are like very strange. I don't know if they're all 18 or what, but
they're called losers.
When George Pickens was traded, how can you trade GP? Like how can you be a Steelers fan of any kind and not think George Pickens was the biggest asshole ever? He quit on your team how many times? Like, I don't understand this weird loyalty to certain players. Steelers haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. It's 2025. If you're a real Steelers fan, that should bother you. Like it really should on some level. This is a team that spends in the cap every year, that has a winning tradition unlike any other. They haven't won a playoff game in almost 9 years. And you want to bring back the same guys and pay the players whatever they want? Like, no, that's dumb. They got rid of Rod Woodson because they didn't want to pay him what he wanted. Like, Rod Woodson's a legend. Like, so if TJ Watt has a problem with making $34 million a year instead of 40, then that's a real issue.
TJ Watt's not even on the all-time Steeler team.
No, he's not.
No,
and he's a great player. Nobody's saying he's not a great player.
It's just look who that linebacker lineup is that you're trying to crack on the all-10 team. I mean, it's just
but it's like just win a playoff game. He should be embarrassed to be a Steeler and have never won a playoff game. How do you look James Harrison and Jack Ham and Jack Lambert in the eyes and say, yeah, I'm the best linebacker in Steeler history and I won $40 million. Oh, how many Super Bowls did you win? Oh, none. Oh, how many playoff games? Wait, you never won a playoff game? It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. And I mean, look, JJ, great player. JJ Watt, another great player. But
it makes he's a Texan. Okay, you never won the Texans. I get it.
Yeah.
This is the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers. You never won a playoff game, and you've had 9 chances.
I know. Listen, I get it, and I just, like I said, I'm not denying his greatness as a player, but it's so obvious to me that he gets more worked up by not winning more Defensive Player of the Year titles than he does just not winning games. Like, that's how it comes across anyway. When he threw his fit a couple of years ago and Garrett won Defensive Player of the Year and he threw out his little passive-aggressive tweet about it, like, maybe just worry about winning some games. Like,
Josh, if he really wanted to win, he wouldn't have been on the bench at 3rd and 7 getting a Gatorade. Oh, is that raspberry or is that green? Give me a break. You think Mean Joe Green would be like, oh, it's 3rd and 7 against the Raiders and Ken Stabler. Oh, I need a breather.
Yeah, that does. I mean, it just kills
drives me nuts. I know.
You're like, it's like, oh, I'm a little winded, so I'm not at my peak performance. Well, that's like every player. Like, that's sports. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes.
Imagine Geno being, I'm not gonna play this. I'm not gonna go out in the 3rd period because I'm a little winded.
And that's what you gotta love. Like, that's what, as Penguins fans, we've been so spoiled because you've had 2 legends in Crosby and Malkin these last 20 years. Not just their talent, but just leave it all on the ice. I mean, those guys care so much about winning, and they care so much about this franchise. So Trent Jordan Watt, I love what you do, but man, if you win a playoff game, then we can start talking. But yeah, guys, that'll I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's funny that Sid never complained. Sid never has to be the highest paid player. And yet he's the one that gets all the crap, and nobody in the national media jumps on TJ Watt. So
why doesn't someone say, hey, why doesn't Watt pull a Ray Bork and go somewhere to try to win a Super Bowl?
Maybe TJ should demand a trade to the Colorado Avalanche. That seems to be the cool thing to do.
That's going to happen. So I have good sources on that. But anyway, so. Well, gentlemen, that'll do it for this week. Everybody, get some questions in or hit us up on Twitter if you want a specific guest on the show. We're going to start doing some interviews through the summer here. So I hope you guys will enjoy those. They're coming soon, but there will be no shortage of Penguin news. Be on the lookout for trades and moves and emergency podcasts. So as always, follow us on Twitter, email the show, contact@twofortalking.com, and we'll talk to you guys later.
See you Thursday at the Improv.
Yes, Joe's show Thursday at the Improv. Get tickets while they're there.